For decades, the United States believed one thing with absolute confidence, that India could be managed, pressured, and ultimately controlled through tariffs, sanctions, and economic leverage. And honestly, that belief wasn't born out of arrogance. It was born out of history. For years, America was so powerful that when Washington imposed sanctions, the entire West fell in line. One signal from the US Treasury and global markets reacted. One trade warning and governments adjusted their policies. But quietly, steadily, the world has been changing. And the biggest proof of that change came the moment India and the European Union came together to craft what many are now calling the mother of all trade deals. This is not just another trade agreement. This is not about buying and selling goods. This deal is about reshaping global economics, rewriting supply chains, redefining energy routes, and rebalancing global power. On one side, you have the European Union, the world's richest and largest single market. On the other side, India, the fastest growing major economy on earth, on track to become one of the top 3 economies globally. Together, this partnership represents nearly 2 billion people and around 25% of global GDP under a single strategic framework. The world has never seen anything like this before. That's why European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen didn't just call it important, she called it historic, because this deal isn't just economic. It's a message that India is no longer on the sidelines of global power. It's now at the center of it. So the big question is obvious. Why is the United States so uncomfortable with this deal? The answer is simple and deeply strategic, because Washington sees something slipping away. For the first time in decades, India is no longer dependent on American economic pressure. When a bloc as powerful and wealthy as Europe openly partners with India, US leverage automatically weakens. And that realization hit Washington hard. Just before this deal was announced, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent made a striking comment, saying that Europe is funding a war against itself. What did he mean? According to Washington, Europe is adopting an energy strategy that looks clean, strategic, and politically correct on the surface. But underneath, it quietly revives the very Russian energy dependence Europe officially claimed to abandon. Here's the core American argument. Europe says it no longer buys Russian oil. But in reality, Europe will still be consuming Russian energy, just through a different route. Instead of buying crude oil directly from Russia, Europe will now import refined fuel from India, fuel that is produced using discounted Russian crude oil. In other words, Russia sells cheap crude to India. Indian refineries turn it into diesel, petrol, aviation fuel. Europe buys that fuel as a non-Russian product. Washington calls this energy laundering. Same oil, new label. From the US perspective, this system keeps Russia's energy economy alive, indirectly supports Russia's war economy, and weakens Europe's own security narrative. But here's where the American argument starts to crack. Because the United States itself still imports Russian nuclear fuel, enriched uranium, and rare isotopes, all officially recorded in US government data. So if this logic is acceptable for America, why is it suddenly unacceptable for India? And that's where the real issue becomes clear.